like we never left. Episode 2 of Small Cap Review. Today I actually have some notes, so should be a little bit more organized than yesterday, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So I'll start with some of the leading gappers today. PALI was the leader at 111% gap. And let's start by looking at the daily context. So I have all the lines taken out on this just to show, I mean, it's clear as day. Let me make this a little bigger. That this whole area had a lot of congestion in it. A couple gap ups out of it, but ultimately settled here. You could draw a bunch of pivots in this zone. That's what it looks like with the lines on. So a lot of action here. So what do you think is going to happen? Stock is up 111% into an area of serious congestion. Do you think it's going to gap up into it and spike all the way through all those levels, fill these gaps? Probably not. So we'll take a look at the pre-market structure here. It was kind of a late bloomer coming in at about 8:30 when it started to get any volume at all. And this was actually a very clean setup to the short side on this one. If you just draw this little channel that it initially made, we get this nice move up to this daily level, this 961 level. Let's check that out. This pivot right here, multi-touch. 2 touches, love that. So you get the daily level as well as the bottom retest of this range, this trend line that it was in. And that is a clean short into the halt down. This level here maybe had a fighting chance, but when you're halting down aggressively, there's going to be a lot of selling there. It kind of came back, retested the halt level and this daily zone, rejected that, and I would be surprised if this thing, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up checking out this 542 level, 550, somewhere down there. 5-minute 8 EMA is down here as well, so maybe that gets pulled up and we end up closer to 6, but would not be surprised to see it go below. So that was a pretty straightforward one. Let's take a look at WISA. Now this is going to be a common theme that you guys see. I love the zone to zone. The pre-market levels dictate the range, or at least the expected range of the stock. So a couple of things that you can really like coming out of here. First off, let's look at the daily. Oh, got to do the super zoom. Oh, can't even zoom in on this thing. Oh my gosh. Oh, probably because that's $230. I'm trying to go down to 6. Hold on. Okay, we can't even look at the daily. Can we look at a 4-hour? Okay, yeah, we'll just look at the 4-hour chart. That's crazy. So here we had some pretty clear and obvious zones coming here. This base here, very clear. And then on the daily, we had a gap here. These green or blue lines indicate a daily gap that I had drawn in there. So since we can't see too much from this, let's just go ahead and get a little deeper. So we see the spike up in pre-market. Nice consolidation here. This is why I have the zone drawn out, pretty clear as day, that there's some action here and a little bit of respect as well when it comes back above. But we get the fail down below, fills the gap. So it kind of checks that box on the retest of the gap below. So you might not get a move that far down out of the open. But what you do get is open here, a little bit of a fake breakout over this VWAP level, this yellow line for me, and into the zone. And we get decreasing volume into the zone, and then really a volume explosion coming out of it. So this was a super, super clean play. If you're waiting for candles to break highs, say you get it, draw it there. Up to the daily level, which is within this pre-market zone. Already tapped once over here. We're looking at 23%. Ends up giving even more than that, and as we speak, going even higher, maybe going to retest maybe $4. This is already more than I expected, so um, sitting on the sidelines for this secondary move, even though we do have a nice little flag forming here. So zone to zone, pre-market levels, have that set the range. That's a super sick play, one that you get paid on in a couple minutes, making 25% in 4 minutes. Doesn't get much better than that. Um, we also had DYNT, but that one really just shit the bed in pre-market. Never was even a thought that this was going to be a thing. There it is. Yeah, just when it fails this range that it's in into open, comes all the way down this daily level. Um, just no reason to play it. So we'll just skip over that and go to the next one, which is PRSO. Now for this one, we do get a nice play. Hopefully the daily chart's going to load okay for us on this one. There we go. So we got to scroll. Okay, so key here is that we had a nice gap on the daily. Yes, it did get filled, it did get tested, but that almost makes it even better because now we have both the top of the gap and a daily pivot right here. So let's take a look. We kind of get that flagging pre-market structure where it looks like it's kind of going to fail out of it. And a couple bottom wicks here, almost a perfect tap of this daily zone. And if I said getting paid 25% in 4 minutes is about as good as it gets, if you're eyeing the zone, you're quick to it. I know we're being a little idealistic, taking the very bottom and go to the very top. But if you're just playing the two levels closest together, I mean that's 22% in 2 minutes. So just about as good or better, and eventually you do get a move over 30% there. What we can see here is that it takes out these pre-market highs, and then that's all she wrote. Could make a move later in the day, of course, but any move over that pre-market high, great place to take profit. Go ahead and lock it in. As you can see, this was kind of a wiki name, so you have to be on edge, quick profits. Quick the other way to easy up, easy down. No real levels to bounce off of when a move is this quick, so no reason that it has to do any sort of consolidation, failed follow through, and go back down. It can just hit the wick, see you later. So good move, nice, quick. Had to be on your toes, fast trader to take it, but great range, and you could predict that great range using the daily chart and what it is showing here in the pre-market. All right, now we'll go to one that I have traded here, which is JAGX. Feel like this has been a name that has been around, just keeps on popping up. You think you've heard the last of it, and then it comes back up. Let's get this thing blown up here on the daily. I think I got too many things over for my computer right now. This is drag. All right, so we do have a daily that is actually building. You can get a nice upper trend line going here. This previous pop that consolidated, and it's going for round two. It had a great day yesterday that I had up just on the side thumbnail chart. So last night when I was kind of mapping this out, easy enough, draw that high from the previous day and keep it on radar. Obviously, this is a name that has some building strength. It had decent volume yesterday compared to some of the previous days. So one to have on watch, and it was really nice in terms of where it opened and how it behaved out of the gate. So here, and once it came up here in the pre-market, I'm thinking okay, maybe the high of yesterday would be a great place to watch it, try to scoop some shares off of it. And in the first 2 minutes, comes pretty close, but gets sucked up and back over top of VWAP, EMAs stacked positively. So once I saw that, and a couple more bottom wicks, I said, okay, this is probably not going to give all these bottom wicks and then go back down to the daily level and then come back up and then make a move. I thought if it's going to make a move, it's just going to do it off of here. So I entered little under 16. I think it was like 1550 thereabouts. So about here on this, once I saw this breakout of these highs, went ahead and entered and set the stop at low of day. And see if we could get a good move out of it. So for initially, I was thinking, okay, if we're here, we're risking about 7%, upside over 30% on this thing, nearest level 15. So 2 to 1 risk to reward to the nearest level, but being a daily setup with some gas behind it, um, I thought a move higher was certainly possible, and that is what we ultimately get. Um, I took first profits at 19 cents up here at this level, and then was in the driver's seat to let this thing continue to work. And as long as it's riding this ADMA positively, not super extended off of it, I'm happy to let this thing make me money as I hang out. Um, Once we got this move up into this daily gap, once we get into this daily gap here, all the way up here, not that low one, all the way up here, I'm starting to take more profits. It's a great ultimate target in this gap. I didn't know if we're looking just to touch the gap or to fill the gap. So left some on, but took about another half off here. So I only have a quarter left. And then once I see this, this is my sign that for me, comfortable taking the rest of the profits. If it goes higher, it goes higher. But this gave me a reason to sell. Nothing else here gave me a reason to sell except for just profit targets. But price action wise, no reason to let this thing stop working. But once you get this high a day volume, big upper wick, and it actually looked even more nasty when you're watching it live, watching the level 2. The tape definitely changed right here. Big exchange, and then selling, selling, selling on that tape. So happy to take the rest of my profits after this and ultimately prove to be the right move as we fade back, almost back to where we had started. So it also gave a nice little setup here on the short side using that gap open level. Draw these out. Not quite to the 61 fib, but very close, in between the 50 and 61. So not ideal. Risk reward could have been a little bit higher, something like this, but this at least gives you the level to work off of. And if you don't enter because it is not not above the 61 or not to the 78, once you see this rejection below, you can set the stop here and give you a smaller risk profile to make multiple R's on the way down there. Um, let's see. Now we have SNGX. So this is another day 2 name. Let's take a look at what we have going here. So let me get all this junk off. Okay, so yesterday obviously was the first day. Let's just go ahead and look at it on the normal chart, the 2-minute rather. What we had, this was the leading gapper, I believe, yesterday too. So I'm going to take this stuff off as well. So as you can see, all day fade type of name, we do get a bit of a spike at the open, like we talked about yesterday. Built the shelf on those levels, daily gap, and all day fade. So it comes all the way down to this obvious level on the daily chart right here, where you just have this consolidation. So first time coming back to it, you see that it is holding it, as opposed to this pretty linear downwards trend. Now we get a little sideways action and a pop here at the end of after hours yesterday. So using that as a bit of a zone, we're looking at this thing in pre-market. and it's making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and even a higher high as it comes in and flags into the open. So this one, biggest concern for me was volume, and that ends up, kind of being the case here. Right now, we still have less than 7 million shares traded on the day, and it's already past 11 o'clock. So what I was looking at here was just this trend line to be able to hold, and then a move above these pre-market highs. Maybe it was going to go into a higher low position here on day two, and this is still possible, coming up back to the 61 fib, or maybe even this daily gap. But it looks like this was probably going to set up an inside bar type of play for tomorrow. Still a lot of the day left, but one that I will certainly be keeping on watch and revisiting tonight to see what the chart shaped up as. But this move here, again, pretty straightforward. Just using the trend line that you could build from pre-market. You do get a rejection of this level in the pre-market zone at open, but then consolidation, never breaking down, using this daily zone, using this trend line, and you can get a nice little move out of it, almost 20%. And that's kind of those are the moves I'm looking for. I'm looking for 20% plus type of moves. I find that you can find those pretty much every day, multiple times a day, and that'll keep, or at least for me, keeps me out of a scalper mindset. Of course, these are still day trades, short-term trades, but I'm not trying to make pennies a couple percent a whole bunch of times. I'd rather make 20% once or twice a day and go about my business that way. So decent move here. Again, pre-market highs get taken out. Great place to take some profits. You do get this really elevated volume candle that shows a decent amount of selling. Small body, large upper wick. Clearly more balance between the buyers and sellers than you did have on these two candles previously, where it is pretty much just buyers closing at the highs. So pretty clean move there. More under the radar, but sometimes the under the radar moves are the best moves. Okay, and then I was not going to talk about this, but given what happened this morning, let's go ahead and do it. I don't think it would be an accurate small cap video without talking about the man who has returned, Zack Morris. So yesterday, actually before we even get to that, yesterday was the start of him coming back and talking small caps again. So yesterday we got, you know, instant halt up on his tweet. It halted for about an hour, and then we ended up actually getting a nice sustained move out of this. And it's just crazy what a man can do with a tweet, but going from close to 3 all the way up close to 10, it's just nuts. So I was looking at this thing, had a couple lines drawn out, this clear pivot, and then also these kind of low from after this gap up levels were mapped out. I really wasn't that interested in trading it unless things really started to build, but did give a nice little zone to zone that you could have played, um, 15, 16%. Pretty straightforward, but just not exactly what I was looking for. And being that it was pretty purely a pump, don't know how I'm predicting there's not going to be a lot of follow through on many of these. Lots of bag holders, lots of people that are alert chasing, maybe not the most sound trading strategies, left with a bag. And so this likely will just go back to where it came from. But with all of these that have serious volume, serious action, I will keep it on radar and see if it sets up for a future day. So KVL was yesterday, and then today, even more crazy, XTC. Again, I think he tweeted it at, pretty much immediate halt up. I think this one actually gave you a minute or two to get in there if that's what you want to do. But then just madness. I mean, going from a 150 halt to a 268 resumption. I mean, end up getting over 100% from alert to the top here. What can you say? What can you say? These are not names that, I am really looking to trade. You got to be really fast to get in before this thing halts up, and after the halt up, hard to have faith in a move to the upside when these are just purely pump plays. Nothing against the man. He brings volume to small caps, which is beautiful to see. But play at your own risk. So I guess I'll put his name in the title or in the description. Maybe a couple people will click on the video just for that. that. So all right. Well, I appreciate you all tuning in. A lot more action could happen today. A lot more names that we could have gone over. But we will leave it at that. I appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching to this point, not asking for likes, not asking for um, any sharing. What I would love, leave a comment, leave a question. Let me know if there's any topics in particular you are interested in, and I will do my best to cover them. So thank you again for tuning in to the Small Cap Review, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.